the music. All right. Hello and welcome back to Verbose mode at TaxCare, by TaxCare at Shift 2025, live from Zadar. And my next guest is Andy Butt.
Hey.
Andy, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Thank you for joining. And Andy, you are going to talk with us about the early startup growth.
Yes, absolutely.
This is a very, essential topic in the technology world, because every company was a startup or is a startup right now. Whatever you are using, whatever we are using, was a startup or is a startup. And early startup is a very exciting time.
Yep.
And been there myself a couple of times. I would say there are two models, right? It can be bootstrap or it can be back.
VC funded, yeah.
Or not, maybe before VC, angel funded, or this kind of stuff. So tell us what's going on in those.
Brilliant. Well, there's a bit of backstory. So I started my career as a design and product person. So I'm really interested in the whole kind of area of product-led growth. But I recently pivoted into the world of VC. So I've been a VC for about 4 years. And so I work with a whole bunch of early stage startup founders who are kind of struggling in those kind of like tricky early years. You know, you've got a really good idea for a product, you've built a deck, you've gone out and maybe raised money, and maybe my fund has written you a check for £500,000 or £1 million. But then you go and you launch your product expecting everyone to come flooding in. There's this whole idea of the field of dreams fallacy. If you build it, they will come. So a lot of founders are so in love with their own product, they just think, well, I'm just going to launch it and it's going to just naturally grow. And then when they open the doors and then there's only a trickle of people coming in, they go, oh, well, I need to add more features. I need to add more features. I need to add more features. It's this sort of product mindset. Like they think that every solution is a feature. And sure, every time they add a new feature, there's a little bit of a bump, and then it settles down again, and then a month later, there's another little bump. And they start to worry because they're like, okay, well, my runway's running out. Maybe I've got like 9 months worth of cash left. I can see the end in sight. I need to raise my next round. Let's say I need to raise a seed or a Series A, and I'm not getting the traction I need to get there. And so that's what I help people with. I help people figure out, okay, this is where you are. What is the reason why you're struggling? And usually it's one of two reasons. We talk about product market fit. So either there's something about the product that isn't landing. You know, there's something, and it's usually maybe around the value that you deliver. Like the value maybe is in the product, so you don't need to add new features, but maybe the value is hidden. Or maybe the value is difficult to access, or there's lots of friction along the way. So helping people kind of identify the value and make it easier to get. So a smooth onboarding process. A really good like drip marketing campaign, so when someone signs up they can become an expert on your product really quickly. You know, people don't want to spend weeks and weeks and weeks trying to get value. Ideally what I try and help founders get to is a product where they can get value in the first run. Like if you can sign up and within 20 minutes, ideally 5 minutes, ideally 30 seconds, you're getting value, then you're getting people hooked. Like people will go, oh, I see the point of this, I'll come back, I'll do it again. And it's all about kind of embedding behavior. Sadly, what often happens is the opposite. It's like, I sign up for a wait list. I wait for a month or two. I then have to do a call with someone that gives me a demo. And then I sign up, and then I've got to jump through all these hoops, ask me loads of questions. I've got to get some technical information that means that it takes me 3 or 4 tries to get up and running. And if I'm trying to solve a business problem, like I don't have time for that. And so I go back to the old way of doing things. It might have been a spreadsheet, it might have been a slightly old-fashioned bit of software, and I think...
Or you go to their competitors.
Or you go to their competitors, absolutely. And so, you know, a lot of people miss that opportunity, they miss that window. And so part of my product sort of background is helping people smooth out the bumps and get to that value quicker. But this is actually an easy problem for most startup founders to solve, because most startup founders are builders. They're good at tweaking and tinkering. But the other part of product market fit is the market side. And most builders, like I say, they have this if you build it, come on mentality. They tend to shy away from sales. They tend to shy away from marketing. They think, oh, well, if I just build more, things will be better. And so the other part of the kind of the equation for growth is leaning into the sales and marketing. Actually, it might be a thing that you feel really awkward about. But if you feel awkward about it, that's probably a sign not to avoid it, but to get good at it. Like your first 10, your first 50, your first 100 customers is probably going to come from you, the founder. It's going to be coming from you talking to your friends. It's going to be coming from
your network.
Your
basically.
network, absolutely. Your network is so valuable. It's going to come from reaching out to people via LinkedIn. It's going to come to writing emails. It's going to come from doing LinkedIn posts or social media articles or recording Loom, or YouTube videos. And so you need to get that first 100 or so customers. Once you've figured it out, once you've got your kind of like your go-to-market strategy, once you've got your playbook, then you can hire a marketing person or a salesperson. But so often founders just try and hire those people before there's any playbook.
Yep.
And they hire a salesperson or a marketer, it doesn't work out, they fire them, they hire another one, they fire them. Maybe only after 3 hires they're like, well, we don't have any more money, I have to do it myself.
Yep.
And it's only once they start doing it themselves that they realize that they needed to be doing all along. But the challenge is often they're now getting to the end of that runway. If they'd had an extra 6 months, they would have had a load of traffic, but now they're really struggling. And so one of the reasons I'm speaking today, as well as being a VC, and we want companies to succeed. We want companies to get to product market fit faster. We want companies to get to their first 10K MRR, 100K MRR, million ARR as quickly as possible. And so I'm trying to kind of get people there maybe in 12 months rather than 2 or 3 years. And so I wrote a book. It's called The Growth Equation. We'll be giving out copies this afternoon. I think the company's bought like 100, 150 copies. We're going to leave one on people's chairs. And the book is all about, it's like a guidebook really, a manual for those founders, because most founders can build, but they don't know how to do go-to-market strategy and product market fit. And so that's what the book's about, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today in about 2 hours.
This is very cool, and I think this is very needed, especially here at Shift. There is an entire section of the conference for startups. Yeah. There is an expo, there is a track, and obviously a lot of startups are here. So this is very, very relevant. So my ex-boss, he's now consulting about exactly that topic, and his golden phrase is magic should be free.
Okay.
Now, obviously, he refers to this feature of the product that the developers go, ooh. And this is something that developers need access immediate, for free, no barriers, no calls, something that, as you mentioned, they can get immediate value. And the interesting part here is that this feature, that is the magic, is not necessarily the feature that the founder or the developer that wrote it consider the most magical.
Well, this is it. I mean, like I said, I come from a design background, and designers like to speak about user experience, and they like to speak about delight. We are living in a world where you've got a lot of sophisticated software. This is not 20 years ago where you had kind of like rubbishy, kind of ugly software. Like, we have got used to using our iPhones, we got used to using our tablets, we got used to using our smart TVs. We want a seamless experience. So the first thing is, I think you've got to have a seamless experience. You've got to really think about the user experience. And there are various product management models, and the one I like the most is called the Kano model. The Kano model basically talks about, there's not one kind of feature, there are 3. You have these kind of basic, almost like threshold features. If you imagine a hotel, like, you have to have a bed in your hotel or else it doesn't work. So like, there are certain things in a product that you have to have. And then there are these kind of linear features where the more of them and the bigger you give them, the better. Like, in the Google Mail days, it would be more storage, or Dropbox would be more storage, or more minutes, or maybe in IR it would be more credits. The more credits you give people, the better. And for me, it's like a hotel with a flat panel TV. Like, you can have a lovely small TV, and that's fine. You have a bigger TV, you have more channels, you have free streaming of movies. You're going to like that room a little bit more. And these are the 2 things that most product managers and engineers focus on, because they're things you can build, they're things that go into a roadmap. But there's this third kind of product feature, which is called a delighter. And in the hotel analogy, a delighter is like the concierge knowing that it was your birthday and leaving a bottle of champagne. or the cleaner in the room leaving a little note saying it's going to rain tomorrow, here's an umbrella. These are beautiful little things, and they're not that expensive. 20, 30 pounds for a bottle of champagne, a little rental umbrella. But you come home from a busy day, or you check in and you see this thing and you're like, oh my God, that feels so personal, that feels so thoughtful. Like, nobody says, oh, it's thoughtful because you put a bed in a room. No one says it's thoughtful because you had a bigger TV. But these personal touches are really important. And I think that's sort of what you're alluding to, that you can have things which aren't on the core roadmap that often get lost, but which can be the thing that makes a huge difference. Exactly. I'll give you a really classic example. I mean, this is a little bit of a dodgy one to recommend, but the scroll to refresh method that they used to have in old Twitter. Back in the day, it used to be the case with Twitter that you'd go to the bottom of your screen, you'd press a button, you go to another bottom of your screen. Really, really unappealing. When the kind of designers created this idea where you get to the bottom, you scroll, and new stuff pops up. It's almost like a slot machine. Yep. Suddenly you get new things. You get you get new information, and so it really becomes fun. It becomes exciting. Arguably a little bit addictive, and I wouldn't recommend people to build addictive interfaces. But it's just thinking about how you can bring delight into products. I think there's another thing though, which I think is really important, which a lot of people get wrong. A lot of people look at their big competition and they go, okay, well, in order to win clients, I need to do everything the competition does and more. The problem is your competition might be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years old. They might have had 1 million, 10 million, 100 million in revenue. And so you're probably never going to outcompete your competitors on all of the features. What you've got to do is you've got to find a subset of their users that are not feeling like they're being served. Find a subset of the users who have been asking for a feature for years and they keep being ignored. A subset of users that maybe doesn't make the customer a lot of money. But you can go in and you can say, hey, look, these people don't care about you, but we care about you. And we've built you the 1 or the 2 or the 3 features you really care about. They might not care about SOC 2 compliance. They might not care about kind of really complicated user access management. But they might care about that one thing that makes their life a whole much better. And then you can steal their customers. And then once you've got those customers, you can build out the extra features and extra features. And eventually, that's how you can pull people from the competition. Not by copying them, but by doing 1 or 2 things better. You look at Linear, for example, if you're a developer, there are tons of ticket management tools out there. They're all pretty much the same. But Linear have done something about the joy of being an engineer. They know that you're going to be in these ticket management tools like Asana or whatever your whole day. Why fight against it? Why have to work with this ugly, old-fashioned legacy tool when you can build something that looks good, that's got nice topography, that looks more like you're using your iPhone app than you are using legacy software? And developers are loving it. And so I'm seeing more and more developers going, I want us to use this tool because it speaks to me, even if it doesn't have all of the features that my engineering manager or product manager might have, because this makes my life easier, it makes it more enjoyable to work. And so that's what you've got to find.
This is why so many people prefer the, what is called the Kanban tool that Atlassian eventually bought, Trello.
Trello, yes.
This is why people prefer Trello to Jira for the longest time, because not because it had more features, but because it had less features.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would actually argue that Apple have done, Apple were the kind of the pioneers here. If you look at Apple and Microsoft in terms of their OS, and maybe if you look at an application like a presentation tool, the mentality of Microsoft has always been, we want to put everything in that we possibly can.
Yes.
We might push a feature not because 99% of people will use it, but because because that 1% might be a deal we really need. And actually Apple have had a different approach. They're we're going to only do the 1%. We're going to focus on the small subset of things that really work. I really love Keynote as a tool. It doesn't have tons of flexibility, but it's really hard to make an ugly presentation. In Keynote, you just put things on the page and they look nice. In PowerPoint, it's really hard to make a nice looking presentation. It's ugly by default, but you've got all of these kind of powerful features.
We just had the interview that we had previously we spoke about opinionated versus flexible.
Yes.
And that's exactly that. Opinionated might be the way to go because if your opinions are right,
Yes.
you can spend much less effort and money
Yeah.
in providing something that will do the right thing.
Yeah.
But the critical part for it, your opinions have to be on point.
Yeah. Well, yes, to an extent. I mean, I think a lot of people are afraid of sharing opinions, because sharing opinions kind of puts people off. Like, I don't know what your politics are, but if you go onto social media and you share a very political opinion, like whether it's right or left, you might alienate half of your audience.
Of course.
And so a lot of people will be like, I'll just stick with a safe middle path. But the problem with the safe middle path is you don't upset anybody, but you don't excite anybody either. You don't attract anybody.
Exactly.
And so I think the same is true with software. Like, I think that someone like Linear have a very opinionated software, and they're happy to say this isn't for you. If you're this kind of company, we're not interested. If you're in that kind of company, come on board. And so that really resonates with people. They go, oh, I'm that kind of person, I'm not that kind of person. So that's one thing I think. But you're right to some extent that like you have to have the right opinion. But also, sometimes it's not about having the right opinion so much. It's because there's always going to be, like I say, some users that are going to agree with you. The goal is to grow that opinion. The goal is to go, okay, I'm happy having an opinion on software that is only popular with 10% of my users. But those users love it. Like, I'll give you an example, like classic, again, old school, all of my software examples are really old, but like Basecamp 37 signals. Like most software companies, it's a project management tool. Most companies that are building product management tools will be like, I'm going to talk to all of my users, I'm going to deliver everything they want. And Basecamp were like, we don't care what you think. This is how we think product management should be done. And if you don't agree with us, there are a dozen other product management tools out there. And so lots of people went to those product management tools. But the people that believe the Basecamp ethos would be like, we're going with these folks because we love it. And then more and more people use the tool, more people go, oh, I love these people's opinion. And so that opinion can grow. I mean, if you look, hopefully, like around, let's say environmentalism, like maybe 20, 30 years ago, it was a small little niche opinion.
Yep.
But it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yep.
And hopefully, hopefully we're heading in the right direction where, the planet will be in a better place for it. So, it's not necessarily being right, it's about being able to grow. And one of the things I actually talk about in my book is, like, if the timing isn't quite right, that you're not hit the zeitgeist, part of your job around marketing isn't necessarily marketing your tool, it's marketing the mindset. It's marketing either your founder's viewpoint,
the opinion,
or and I give you a kind of, again, like a weird example. In the 1900s, body odor wasn't a problem. You didn't have kind of like deodorant, and then like in the 1940s or 50s, like the people bought these deodorant things, but no one would buy them, and no one would buy them because they didn't think there was a problem. And so the advertisers on Madison Avenue created a whole bunch of adverts, not to advertise deodorant, but advertise body odor. They would show like videos of like a man getting into a room and a couple of women shying away and doing this. And suddenly the act of making body odor a problem then opened up the whole market to go, oh, well, now we need a solution. And they were right there with that solution. And so, I think naive marketers market the solution. Really, really smart marketers market the problem.
Create a category.
Create a category, absolutely.
That's like the holy grail of a startup.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Yeah. That's
And it can be a micro category as well.
Of course.
I think this is it. I think people want to build a big category, but all the big categories have been built. You have to start with
Absolutely.
again, sort of Airbnb.
Yep.
Like there was sofa surfing before Airbnb, but it was tiny. They took a risk and they built a category, and now like Airbnb is going to be bigger probably than any single hotel chain in the world.
Of course.
So it wasn't about them sitting around and thinking we're going to build a category. They just built a product that kind of then they grew and they grew and they grew.
Yep.
So yeah, absolutely, category development is huge.
Indeed, that was delightful. Thank you very much. I learned a lot. I'm sure our viewers learned a lot. And you'll stay tuned for more episodes of Verbose, my tax care, live from Shift 2025. And it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely chatting with you, man.
Thank you.